Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Feel like it's been a while since I've done a video like this, and I think it actually has, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. Been doing a lot of those Canvas videos, and hopefully people are finding that helpful or at least interesting. Then I was on vacation and just haven't been in front of this camera for a while, so it feels a little awkward. But in any case, this video is about Thunderhill East. So just took the WRX to Thunderhill and set a best lap time or personal best lap time out there on new tires, and just kind of want to cover all the different things that I've learned or kind of experienced at that particular track day, and just share some of it with you. I'm actually kind of excited because there are some things that we'll cover in this video, hopefully to your satisfaction, that people have been asking me about. So the first one is hood louvers. Do they help? Did they help? And then the other one is going to be the Nanking tires versus the Federal tires. So let me start loading up some data logs in Track Attack. All right, guys, we are inside of Track Attack, and the first question we're going to answer is the difference in the Federal tires versus the Nanking tires. I'm not a data expert, so it's going to be hard to pick through this and kind of understand what's going on. Obviously, the lap time is faster on the Nankings. And just so you guys know, we're looking at two different data logs from two different dates. So data log in purple is from the most recent track day, this past Thursday. And the data log in green is from May. And that was the last personal best at 2050. I should say really quick, I don't know what's going on with the race render lap time and like the race capture lap time and the track attack lap time. All the same data logs are being loaded in, but for whatever reason, race render is giving me a 0.4 second faster lap. I don't know how it calculates that. It's all using the same data log, so something's going on there. I'm not sure what it is. I'm more inclined to believe the race capture slash track attack time. Race capture had me at a 203.9, and track attack here is saying 203.8. So I don't know what's going on there. But in any case, let's talk about the tires. So, from like a qualitative perspective, the tires feel better. They come to, they felt like they came to grip sooner, and I kind of struggled with that on the Federals. You usually take a lap or two, but the thing is, it was really hot outside at this past event, so I can't really make a definitive statement on that. Also, there was a slight alignment change between these two data logs. Car has now zero point 0.5 degrees more camber in the front and 0.3 degrees more camber in the rear, and a little bit more compression all around. I think like 4 clicks all around. So that's probably not a little; it's a lot. But so getting back to the tire, and it felt like I could carry more speed into the corners. Right, there's a little bit more confidence. It felt like the tire had more grip. I could still put the car where I want it, and like the precision of the tire still felt good. I don't think that either tires lacked precision. I was able to run a slightly lower tire pressure on the Nankings, uh, but I also think I may have been running slightly too high of a tire pressure on the Federals, so that's kind of a wash. Tires didn't really overheat. I mean, as the day got kind of wore on and we started to hit closer to 100-degree weather, there was definitely some fall off on the tire, right? If you see in sessions like 3 and 4, 3 was a dirty session. I couldn't get a clean lap. Session 4, even when I was doing a clean lap, I was about a second and a half behind this lap. So it's kind of getting too hot for the tire. But you know, what are you going to do? I'm sure the Federals would have roughly been in the same boat. If we look at the actual kind of quantitative data, and we just look at where the Nankings carried more speed speed in the corners, you can see that I was just the car was capable of pulling a greater G. So here, Nanking's pulling more speed, and it's pulling about 0.15 greater G than the Federals, as you can see here. If I go over here, it's the same thing. Car's carrying more speed and pulling about 0.2 G more than the Federals. T8 is a big one. It's a very high-speed corner. If you saw the video, I'm kind of laughing. It looks like the tires were actually relatively the same in terms of G, and I'm going to attribute that to just confidence in the car and in the tire. The tire felt better, so I was more willing to push the car. I'm carrying more speed, but I don't know. I felt like the car could do it, so I went for it, and we're about 5 miles an hour faster through that corner, and that nets us a huge amount of time gain between the 2 laps. Same thing going into 14-15. I believe the Nankangs pull a greater number of G. So let's see here. This is 0.2 different. 0.2 G different. G's G. Is it plural? I think it's singular. But overall, the tire felt like it was stickier, and it gave me more confidence to push the car harder. So what do I think? I think it's a better tire. It's more expensive, and we kind of did a number on the tires, but we'll talk about that one later. Overall, do I like the Nankangs more? Yes, but they're also more expensive than the Federals. And I wasn't to say that I wasn't in love with the Federals, but they did develop that kind of crack across the tread, and it was time for those to go. So right now I'm loving my Nankangs. Hopefully they last just as long, but I don't think that's going to be the case, and I'll tell you why a little later in the video. So let's go ahead and move on to hood louvers. Let's talk about whether or not hood louvers helped. So let me queue up data for that real quick. Okay, so same laps, and we've pulled up a different set of data points here. So first one is GPS speed, because I feel that speed matters because we're forcing air in through the radiator, through the oil cooler. We've got oil pressure here. We've got oil temperature, which is going to be this one. Other two, that I believe is coolant. I haven't named it in Track Attack because it's sort of like a pain in the butt to do. Our engine RPM, other 13, this is going to be intake air temperature, so I guess the temperature that the mass sensor sees. And then other 12 is going to be intake manifold temperature, so the temperature that the manifold sees. Couple things to note, my math temperature always seems to be about 15 degrees, give or take, higher than what the outside temperature is, or at least what my kind of outside temperature is showing me on the multifunction display. So when it says that it's 87 degrees back in May, that means outside air temperature is about 72, and when it says it's 108, means outside temperature is about 93, which for the most part, if I can remember with my memory, that sounds about right. Unfortunately, in Track Attack, I want to show you the cooldown. I want to show you the cooldown laps, right? Because my sneaking suspicion is that the hood louvers help, not a huge difference in temperature, not a huge change in the sense of like I'm looking at 10-15 degrees swing. I might be looking at like 5 to 8 degrees difference, but the challenge is kind of reproducing an engine load that I can compare side by side, and that's really hard. And so I wanted to show you how quickly it cools down, because my gut feeling is that with the louvers, the cooling down of the coolant and the engine oil is faster. And I want to show you my in laps going into the pits, but the problem is I can't show you that side by side based on position of the car on the track. Track Attack wants to show it um, by lap time, so overlaying the two laps by lap time, and as one car starts to pull ahead of another, there's the engine starts to run at different RPMs, the speeds start to be slightly different, and it's kind of hard to make a comparison. So in this case, we're looking at two different laps, roughly at the end of one session and at the middle of another session. And right off the bat, I'll tell you that hopefully by lap 4 in this pass event, everything's kind of heat soaked, and it kind of looks like it is, right? We're looking at oil temps in the 250 range. We're looking at coolant temps over somewhere around 220, slightly over 220, slightly below 220. And then we can see here that the intake air temperature is about 20 degrees difference, right? So at the mass airflow sensor, we're looking at 20 degrees difference in air. And you can see here that this pass event with the louvers on the car, everything's running hotter. And unfortunately, I don't have... the goal was actually to go and hopefully have it be around 70 degrees, which it was like the day after. But it was unfortunate that on our particular day, it was like 90. It started at 93, ended up at like 100. But in my opinion, the louvers are helping. You can see here that the difference between the oil temperature with and without the louvers is about 9 degrees, and with the louvers it's 9 degrees higher, but we're looking at intake temperatures that are 20 degrees warmer. Same thing for coolant. Coolant is hotter, and in fact, I think I'm actually running the heater here to help pull some heat out of the system, so that the radiator isn't doing as much work, or maybe the radiator saturated, and now we're supplementing that by using the heating system or the heater core. It's not a definitive answer, unfortunately, and I think when we go back to the track later this year or next year, and the ambient temperatures are roughly the same as it was in May, we'll have a better answer. But my gut feeling is that I am able to push the car harder, or I don't have to worry about it as much, and the car cools down faster when I either go into a cool down lap or the session's over and I'm starting to pull into the pits. That one I'm pretty sure about, but I can't show it to you. So, definitive answer, not quite yet, but kind of like an update. And I think it's doing pretty good. It might not be a huge difference, but it definitely helps. Okay, so that's a louver update here. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Oh, brake fade. So if you remember from way back in the day, we used to run Carbotech XP8s all around on the car, and instantly that was just not the right pad to be using on a car that weighs 3,400 pounds, give or take. Then we started using the G-Lock R16s in the front and R10s in the rear. And those were really good. Wasn't really running into any brake fade, but I think with the new tires and the confidence that I have in the corners of the car, I'm carrying more speed. And in one particular corner, I'm getting some brake fade. So it's, let's see, it's corner 9, 10, 11. So I'm really hard on the brakes going into 10, back on the gas, and then really hard on the brakes again going into 11, and that subsequent double braking point, from 10 and then not enough time to cool down the system and going straight into 11. There are instances there where the pedal just goes stiff, and I think in one of the videos I even make a comment on it. The car doesn't want to slow. The pedal goes stiff, and I make it through the corner, but I'm carrying I'm kind of like scrubbing speed, and it wasn't going as planned in my mind. So there's a little bit of brake fade there. I don't think that there's anything I can do besides going to a higher or more aggressive pad. So G-Lock makes an R18 pad, which has, I think, 100 degrees more of temperature or operation range for the temperature window. Um, and I've actually picked up a set of those to take them to Laguna, because Laguna we were experiencing fade as well. Um, if that doesn't work, there's not much else I can do with the brakes on the car, right? It already has a brake duct kit. I mean, I could try to route the hoses differently, try to force air down a more effective path. Um, but outside of that, it would probably be getting a bigger brake kit. Car currently has 17-inch rims, so I run a smaller 4-piston kit. If I went to an 18-inch rim, I could run a bigger rotor and a 6-piston kit. Um, it's really not something I want to do, simply because bigger rim, more expensive tire, and then I've got to get rid of the big brake kit that I have now and get a better one or bigger one. So that's a lot of money, and not sure, when we start maybe taking the car to some sanctioned events where we have classes. If we don't do anything with the 100 trailwear tire and we're running a 200 trailwear tire, then likely we can get away with keeping the system that we have now. And so, not really sure where we're going to take the car and what we're going to do with it. So for now, I don't want to play around with the braking system to address any of this fade. I'm just going to try to use a more aggressive pad and see where that gets us. I think that's it for brake fade. Tire wear. Okay, we were talking about this earlier with the Nankangs and the Federals. There was some very interesting tire wear at the end of the day. So we actually only did 4 sessions, and I think when you sum up the laps, it was only somewhere between 20 and 30 laps. It got hot in the day, and I was overheating the tires, and the car was getting hot, and I just didn't want to push it anymore. So we called it the end of the event for us. But when we pulled the tires off to put the daily tires back on to get home, there was some very strange wear on the tread of the tire. So specifically on the groove that runs to the outside face of the tire. Let me see if I can pull up some pictures here. Okay, so this is the inboard side of the tire that we're looking at on this side, and this is the outboard side of the tire. And what's happening is on this groove, somewhere towards the center of it, we are just eating away at the tire, right? So you can see there's more lip here, and there's really nothing here. It's almost flat here, and then we get that groove back over here, and then we're building some type of like lip. So I believe this is the leading edge of the tire, and this is the lagging edge of the tire, and getting this weird wear, right? So these tires are brand new. They were heat cycled, pre-heat cycled. They were mounted, and then I transported the tires to the track, put the tires on while I was at the track, right? So I didn't drive on the streets with the tires, and I've never used the tires before. And they were heat cycled, so they should have been good to go right off the bat. And essentially, we took a 6/32 tire, and in this particular spot, probably wore about 4/32 of the tire. 4/32 of the tire just gone. And I don't know what that's about, because we only put about 28 laps on the tires, give or take. Pressures look pretty good. If you look at the sides of the tires, the wear was very even. So it's I don't know what's going on with these tires. This one in particular was the front right, so passenger right, which is in a counterclockwise track. It's going to get the most wear, and here's another picture here. You can kind of see it. Here's the lip, and it's just on the inside of this, or this leading edge. Something's going on here. Look, it's on the wear bar right here. This is again another picture of the front right. So this is front right. This is rear right. So it's not as bad, but it's still happening. This is driver side front or front left. Not as bad, but again, still happening. Um, and then driver side rear. Again, not as bad, but still happening. So you would expect it to be the worst on the front right because we are going through a track configuration that's counterclockwise, so we're making a lot of left-handed turns. And you see that in the tire, it kind of like spreads out across the car, and you would expect that rear left or driver's side rear to be the least worn, and that's the case here. Um, I've tried to contact the tire manufacturer in Nanking as well as the people I bought the tires from, and hopefully I spoke with someone this morning. Hopefully they get back to me and give me an idea of what I could potentially do to keep this from happening, or maybe what I've done wrong. The tires are mounted in the correct orientation. They weren't run backwards. Um, but we'll see what happens. I like the tires; they're sticky, but I can't be blowing through tires in 28 laps. It just, or not blowing through them, but I just can't have this happen, right? It's not feasible. The consumable cost is just through the roof if that's going to be the case. So I need to solve this problem. The Federals did do something very similar, but not as extreme. They would get like a little lip or an edge built up on them, but not as bad as this. And I think that's partly because this compound is a little softer and the tires are fresh. But we'll see. Next up, coilovers. What do we want to do with coilovers? I think there's room to maybe add more compression into the coilovers. And I spoke with Wyatt from Emotion Control, and he's thinking, based on the fact that I am at the upper range of the compression or adding platform to the car, I should switch to a higher spring rate. Right now, the spring rate's about 650, 700, 650 front, 700 rear. It's kind of like a daily / track duty spring rate. He's recommending I go to like 850 in the front, 900 in the rear. It's more of a track oriented setup, and I think we're just going to do it. We're going to see if we can find some hypercoil springs. I mean, I know where to get them, but let's see if we can find a deal on them, and hopefully we can have them on the car before Laguna Seca, and then have the car realigned or realign the car. I think that's it. So, what do I want to do the next time I'm at Thunderhill? If we hop back into Track Attack and we look at just the laps, give me a second. Let me reconfigure this so we can look at just the laps. Okay, so now that all that's done, let's talk about what I want to do the next time I go back to Thunderhill. And I think some of that's going to revolve around what I was trying to do this time at Thunderhill. This portion of the video, if the other stuff was dry for you, this might be even more dry. So if you made it this far, cool. Okay, so what did I try to do this time at Thunderhill? Turn 1, 2, 3, 8, and 6, and 14. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 14. Those are the corners I was trying to work on. 1, 2, and 3, I'm trying to carry more speed into the corner, so hard on the brakes a little bit later, bleed off the brakes, carry speed into the corner, and then wait for the point in the corner where I can just go straight to full throttle. So in the video of the fastest lap, you can kind of see there's a delay between when I'm off the brakes and when I'm on the gas. That's very, very intentional. I am waiting to the point where I can go full throttle on the gas. And so because I'm not nailing my braking point correctly, instead of creating this bad habit where I get on the gas and start to play with it, I'm waiting for the point where I just can go to full throttle. And then the next time around, I will adjust my braking point to be a little bit later, so that when I brake, get off, I'm already at the point where I can go straight to full throttle. It's sort of like this kind of transition period where I'm learning where on the track that happens, but that is the goal for turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. So if we quickly look at turn 1, we're going to look down here in the braking spot. We can see that I am, well, we have to look all the way over here because this is the end. Shoot, I am braking later. No, because that's the end of this lap. I gotta look at the beginning of the last lap. But in any case, braking later, I'm braking slightly harder, and then I'm off the brakes, and I'm kind of like trying to feather off lightly. And the idea here is that I can carry more speed into the corner. And you can see in the purple, I'm going slightly faster down the front straight in the green. Just had a bad run off of 14, 15 in the purple lap. But you can see as I get off the brakes, I'm rolling more speed into the corner. Even though I'm back on the gas here in the green, I'm still about 5 miles an hour faster, right? And then you can see over here my throttle trace, I'm kind of playing with the gas, and then I go to full throttle. I'm waiting to do that in the purple, and you can see I'm off the brakes here, and there's a little bit of time from when I'm off the brakes to I get back on the gas. And when I commit to the gas, I do a better job of going straight to full throttle. You can't see an advantage here coming out of the corner. I think this is due to power from the engine for temperature wise. But it's pretty close. And I think fundamentally this is a better way to approach turn 1. So I want to work on that. So you can see here there's a delay between brake and gas, and I need to work on moving my braking point so that I go from brake straight to gas, right? I do that in the green lap, but you know, I overslow going into turn 1. Turn 2, I think previously I said I wasn't going to double apex the turn, and then I ended double apexing the turn. I don't know, it feels right. And you can see here that I'm actually on the brakes earlier. This is my downshift. And I try to roll more speed into the corner. And where I actually get off the brakes in both laps, we're going roughly the same speed. So I may have kind of like overslowed the car going into the corner. I could probably carry more speed there. So got to work on that. And mid-corner speed is slightly lower. But I think I do a better job with the gas. And so the goal is I want to do something more similar to turn 1 and turn 2. There is like a slight improvement here. You can see I'm back to full throttle a little bit earlier, and because of that, I actually exit the corner with more speed. This is room for improvement. So I did a better job in turn 1. I think I could do a better job in turn 2, and I think that's going to come from pushing the car further into the corner before I get on the brakes. The challenge is for turn 2 is that you come up over a hill and you go down. And so the tendency is to want to brake before the car starts to go down this hill into turn 2. We can try to push it and see what happens if we start to brake as the hill goes down or in the middle of that downhill portion. We'll see what the car lets me get away with. Turn 3, same thing. I want to be kind of rolling as much speed as I can into the corner, and then getting on the gas later in the corner, but committing more to full throttle sooner. And I don't do a good job of that. So let's see at my braking. So I'm harder on the brakes, and then I try to bleed it off. I do a better job at that. Carrying roughly the same speed when I get off the brakes, which is here. And you can see I get back on the gas in the green lap sooner, and that's why my speed goes up. And I hold and I wait and I wait and I wait in the purple lap, in the new PB lap, and then I get back on the gas. And I actually come out of the corner again slightly faster. So it's like kind of deceiving, right? It's kind of like backwards, but it seems to be in every single case I can carry more speed coming out of the corner. So I want to keep working on this kind of rolling of the speed and delaying where I get back on the gas. So 1, 2, and 3, turns 1, 2, and 3, want to do that. Probably can work on the trail brake going into turn 2 a little bit more. Let's see. Turn 6 was where I wanted to change my turn-in point. So I wanted to delay that turn-in point slightly. If you saw the previous video, which I think I did a much better job of this time. And if I were to zoom in on this, you can probably see here that I do take a slightly different line, and my turn-in is later, so I stay wider longer. Let's go ahead and then T8. T8, I barely touched the brake in the purple lap. Where's T8? No. I gotta come back to this map here. T8, I think, is this turn. I do a better job of carrying speed here and just kind of touching the brake slightly. I think on a cooler day, I might be able to not even touch the brake at all and carry triple digits into that corner. We'll see. So that'll be a goal for next time. What is this? 9? 9 doesn't. I don't think there's much going on here in 9. I think it's pretty good. 10. So 10 is kind of like 2. It's kind of like a downhill section, and I think 2 and 10 suffer from the same problem in the sense that I see that the hill, it's going over a hill and the track's dropping away from the car, and so I try to brake earlier. If I can push my braking zone in 10 to maybe the top of the hill, or maybe even as I'm going down the hill, we could see some net benefit or some time gain there. But I don't know, like if you miss it, because if you miss it, you're going off track. It's like it's kind of sketchy. But we do a good job here compared to last time. We brake later, we brake harder, and we carry way more speed into 10. Significantly more speed into 10. And I do a better job of kind of feathering off the brake, which is great. I want to keep working on that. And then 14, there was 2 things going on. I think my braking point was too early. It wasn't hard enough, and then my turning point was bad. So I do a better job this time of braking slightly later. And this is session 2 of the day. And session 4 of the day, I brake. I think I do an even better job of braking later. So we can continue to work on that. And then the turn-in point, let's see here. Oh, shoot, I'm zoomed out. I'm looking at the wrong spot. Come on. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Okay, this is 14, 15. So yeah, braking a little bit later, great. Kind of trying to trail off and roll some more speed through the corner so I get back on the gas at a better position, carry more speed out of the corner, do a decent job. It's not awesome. I know I can work on this, and let's see. I want to look at my turn-in point here. I was trying to hold my turn-in point longer, and do I do a better job? It doesn't look like I do a better job of it. So we got to work on 14 again. I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, not too dry. And if it was interesting, great. If you have questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to ask. And as always, thank you. We'll see you at the next video. Take care. Bye.